I'm just curious if this is the first time we're finding out that Jensen Ackles has a beautiful voice.
Like an annoyingly soulful, beautiful.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be chatting with you guys about Fatal Attraction series. Gosh, it's so good. First episode, I know the question that's going to be on everybody's mind, Joshua, is Torn by Natalie Imbruglia your typical go-to karaoke song, or was that just scripted?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a huge karaoke guy. I will go and enjoy. I have enjoyed karaoke, but it's not something that I seek out. I think you can see from my rendition of that song, it's not really in my wheelhouse. There's a reason why karaoke is not my go-to. I don't know why people still write me scenes where I have to sing and or dance, because it's clearly not one of my skills.
I have friends that are they're like die-hard karaoke people, like many friends, that it's like at the end of every night ends in some private room karaoke. I would never pick karaoke.
Me neither. I worked with there's an actor named Jensen Ackles who worked on Dawson's Creek many years ago. Now, Jensen is a lovely guy. He's also really handsome, like incredibly handsome. And we went out one night after work in North Carolina, karaoke, everybody been drinking, everybody sounds like they've been drinking, and he stands up and has the voice of an angel. And I just remember being like,
Yep.
That's so annoying. I think that kind of killed my joy of karaoke forever.
It's just the never-ending feud.
Right?
Josh Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Jensen, yes.
I'm just curious if this is the first time we're finding out that Jensen Ackles has a beautiful voice.
Like an annoyingly soulful, beautiful.
Really?
Yeah. Like not just like, oh, he can carry a tune, like oh my God, it's obnoxious.
Before I cause things to go too far off the rails, Lizzie, I wanted to ask you about, I'm sure you're going to get lots of questions, a lot of comparisons, playing, Alex and playing Annie in Castle Rock, and sort of similar, classic female characters who are perceived in one way, updated to a new perspective. Did you have any ideas going into playing Alex that you brought with you from playing Annie, or anything that you knew you wanted to do differently?
Yes, and it's worth saying that I feel like nobody watched Castle Rock when it was on, and I have been getting a fair amount of questions about it and doing press for Fatal Attraction. So if that means more people are watching Castle Rock, I'll take it. They felt like two very different assignments. Castle Rock, it always felt like that was an Annie Wilkes that eventually would become the misery Annie Wilkes, the Kathy Bates Annie Wilkes. And so I wanted that character to feel like it was the same person, with very different circumstances, obviously. Whereas with this, the circumstances are quite different. The time period is so different that this felt like just a totally different beast. And while I wanted to have little subtle nods to what Glenn Close so spectacularly did in the film, this felt like a different thing. And so while they're both very iconic villainesses from bygone days, it actually feels really different. I was really scared about doing Annie Wilkes and also very scared to do this, but maybe that gave me a bit more confidence to say yes to this one.
Sure. How did it feel to get to deliver that very iconic line?
Scary. Because also, even just like the context of where that line is delivered in our show versus in the film, it feels very different. And yet, it's a line that's very important to people.
I think it's probably good that because I just got back to LA yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
And that line is on the billboard.
I know.
Probably good they didn't tell you that then.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would have had we're going to take this line and we're going to plaster it all over your hometown.
Yeah.
Would have rattled me a little bit.
Yeah. But I really do think that the Glenn Close version of that line, while it seems super menacing and is remembered as a purely menacing line, I see it as like somebody really struggling to understand this situation and what is going on and how it's gotten so far out of her control and so far out of what she understood it to be. So I do think there's so many differences that, obviously our show's called Fatal Attraction. Our characters are Dan Gallagher and Alex Forrest, but this feels like its own animal.
Oh, very much. It absolutely is. It's so good. I'm so excited that more people are going to get to see it so I can talk about it.
Nice.
Thank you guys very much for taking time to chat today. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Very excited to be talking about Fatal Attraction series coming to Paramount Plus soon. April 30th, so soon. One of my favorite dynamics of the show is between the two of you when we get to see Dan's post-jail life, which happens very early, so we're not spoiling anything. But I really liked how the show doesn't go tropey with the mom who's kind of like, don't talk to him, you shouldn't have a relationship with him. Like, your character Amanda Ellen is very supportive, and I think that's very rare in a situation like this, in this kind of narrative. Wanted to put that out there and ask your input on that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm with you. I think it would be really scary to not let your daughter pursue her own agenda with her estranged parent. So I also think it's a really interesting dynamic and a good mother-daughter moment.
I'd love to get your input on that as well, Alyssa, as the daughter in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, like, that particular day that we shot the scene where you talked to me about seeing Dan, I think I definitely had, like, whatever picture in your head you have before you go into a scene that you're not supposed to have. I had that picture of, like, oh, I feel like Beth is, like, in my head, Beth is this, she's going to be thinking about herself in this situation. And then Amanda came in and she was so, like, I could feel that it was really hard for her, but she was so taking care of me and making sure that it was okay. And it just posed so much more for me in that moment. And it was really, like, beautiful and complex. So yeah, I think it would be tropey if it was just one or the other, but you have a beautiful pull in that scene and things are going against each other. It's lovely.
I really thought that was really cool. Also, I realized that I said Ellen when I was talking to you, Amanda, and that is Alyssa's character. That brainworms or something. Amanda, I also wanted to mention this to you. When I had a chance to talk to Alexandra, she noted that you had actually been early on working with her to find an actress to play this character, and then eventually ended up doing it yourself. And I
didn't know if she wanted to talk about that. Yeah.
Oh.
She was calling me. She called me like maybe twice to see if I knew anything about the personalities of a couple of actresses. And then I guess one night or two nights went by, and then she called and was like, "What about you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Where do you want me? Yeah, sign me up."
Wow. News to me. That's cool.
Well, I am older than Josh Jackson, so I think, among other things, there was like a question of whether I don't know if that was one of the questions, maybe.
She just noted it. She didn't really mention anything other than that. I just thought it was funny and wanted to ask you about it.
Yes.
That's interesting because I can so hear your voice in the writing. So it's interesting that it was for. But I feel like you and Alex have a similar voice, so that makes sense, actually.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank you so much.